On ABC Goldman Murray and ABC Gippsland, it's 17 to 10. When SimonFinn sits down to create a piece of art, he's more likely to have a computer or 3D printer in front of him than an easel and paints. Simon's an award-winning artist who uses digital modelling and physics calculations, no less, to create his work. He's part of the Synthetica exhibition at the Wangaratta Art Gallery, and he's going to be giving a talk about his work this weekend. Simon's in our Melbourne studio. Simon, good morning.
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
This all sounds almost anything but art. You're going to have to explain it to us. Can you explain the technology that you use to create art?
Well, I think if I give you a slight historic reference as to when I left art school, I obviously needed work and needed to pay the rent, so I became a visualization artist. Now, you're probably wondering what that is. Well, basically, it's using computers to make prototypes of objects prior to them being built. So it's like computer game technology, special effects for film and television, and from that, I've now sort of got away from the screen and started to make these drawings just using charcoal and paper. It was almost like a reaction to being in front of the screen too often. And then now I found myself doing the sketches on the computer. Now the sketches are just using simulation technology to generate imagery, I guess. Hopefully that makes sense.
Hang on a minute. Did you just say using simulation technology to generate imagery?
Simulation technology. It sounds a little bit wordy, but now it's becoming quite commonplace. You know, generating objects in virtual game environments. Making. I mean, I think you heard of that. Case where someone was 3D printing guns at one stage, and now doctors in the United States are printing elements of bone structure and hip replacement technology. So going from the computer into the actual 3D printed world, if that makes sense.
So you create something on the computer,
yep,
and then you're able to print it out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of, I guess it's based on a mathematical formula where on the computer, we've got these X, Y, Z coordinates in space, and each one of those little X, Y, Z coordinates goes together to make something called a polygon, and all those polygons fit together to make an object. Now, that mathematical data can be relayed onto the computer, onto the 3D printer, and prints out in layers the different components of an object. So people have quite often told me, oh, that must be so much easier just to press print on the computer and the work's done. I actually find it harder to do the sculpting and more difficult, yet there's things you can do on the computer that you can't do with traditional sculpting, and that's why I use the computer.
Is it art, though, people might ask, if you haven't laid your own hands on it?
Of course it is. I mean, there's still a really strong interaction with the work, and every decision, every aesthetic choice has been made on the screen, as much as working with clay or iron or whatever it might be. But they did start as sketches on the computer. Now, I know that sounds a bit strange, but sketches for drawings. So they were, that's how they initially started, just as a way of working through ideas and as a way of working through the creative process.
Why use all of the high-tech stuff if it's harder? Why not just do it, draw it, make it?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question, and that sort of goes to the heart of my research, I guess, and I do consider my artwork to be a research in a way. Because there's things you can do on the computer that you can't do otherwise, especially things that incorporate time and time fragments and things like that. And that's been a particular focus of my research, I guess.
Can you describe how your work looks when it comes out the other end? Does it look like something that's come out of a printer, or does it look like a sculpture?
Well, it looks like both, really. I mean, it looks like it's come out of a printer in its initial stage. I mean, you can cast from these things, and you can paint them. You can. I've been printing into wood lately, and so it looks like it's come from a printer. But it also does have a handcrafted appeal to it as well. And I do then work into the work as well. So it's kind of a cross-pollination, I guess, between using the technology and still working with my hands.
Can you describe, say, a favourite work of art for us?
Oh, one of my favourite works of art that I've created, or one that I'm inspired by?
Oh, definitely one that you have created.
Okay. Maybe one of the ones that's showing at Wangaratta Art Gallery at the moment. It's sort of I remodelled one of the Mars rovers. So I used schematic drawings and things like this to actually build what's happening there on Mars, and then actually animated it and then drew it. So it's actually a drawing, so a charcoal and paper drawing. So it's very complex in its construction, but the actual output is as simple as I can really think of. Just charcoal and paper. So I guess that appeals to me. It's almost prehistoric cave art meets future technology, I guess.
Simon, you said at the outset that you got into visual art as a means of making money, which might not be the first thing that springs to mind for a lot of people.
No, I didn't want to confuse that. I got into art not for making money, but then acknowledged once I'd left art school that I needed to pay the rent as well to support my arts practice. So it wasn't a financial venture at all going to art school. It was an aesthetic adventure.
All the same, does it allow you to pay the rent?
Of course, yes. And I'm lecturing at a university and teaching students how to make games and special effects for television as well as a supplement.
We're talking to SimonFinn, whose work is being displayed at the Wangaratta Art Gallery, and at times involves these 3D printers that we're hearing more and more about, where you might render something on the screen. Is that the right word, Simon?
Yes, I think, and once again, that's another sort of legacy from traditional art. I mean, the fact that we render something. I mean, that's sort of based in drawing and painting, and the tool sets as well within the 3D programs. The lathe tool and the extrude, like they're all. It does have its fundamental core still based in the traditional arts.
1300 147 222 or text 0467 842 722. Actually, be interested, anybody who has got a hold of a 3D printer, just be interested to know what you're using it for. We're talking in an art context here. Alternatively, you might have a perspective on art and how you see these types of art objects, and sort of I guess using a more high-tech or new technology way of producing art. Do you get commissioned to do particular works of art, Simon?
I have been approached, but generally at the moment I'm kind of on my own wave, for want of a better metaphor, and just creating my own things. So not so much.
When you lecture, do you teach students to do this?
I teach them components of it. I mean, it's a very complex process, so there's elements within it that I don't teach that other lecturing staff do. But there are definitely the fundamentals that I go through of setting up any sort of simulation, whether it be for like I said before, film and television, or for interactive game technology. You're
giving a talk about your work this weekend at the Synthetica exhibition, Wangaratta Art Gallery. What sorts of things do you say to lay people who've got no idea how you even put one of these things together?
Well, I think it's sometimes it's difficult to talk about this sort of thing on the radio, whereas being able to talk in a gallery context in front of the work and sort of just describe not only the technical aspect but also the conceptual development of the work, and having the work in front of me, I find a lot easier to sort of pick apart the work and also take questions as well, and sort of help to guide people through any sort of confusion they might have with the work, or it's always interesting to have the work open up to interpretation as well, and hearing other people's feedback as well as sort of directing my dialogue towards them. I like to hear what other people have to say as well.
Is this the way you think art's going to go? More high-tech, harnessing more of the potential of technology to help artists create whatever's in their heads?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I would never want to say that all arts can head in any sort of direction. I think there's always room for painting, ceramics, all of that sort of artwork has its own specific dialogue. This is just another addition, which is highly influential, especially the way we sort of move and interact with the world today with our phones and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it definitely needs to be appreciated and taken into account, because it is going to be another force to reckon with.
Good luck, and we'll look forward to seeing what else you produce.
Thanks, Joseph.
A little bit further down the line, and as you keep on progressing in your career. SimonFinn, and you can see Simon's works of art at the Synthetica exhibition at the Wangaratta Art Gallery, and he'll be giving a talk about his work this weekend. And that's from about 2 p.m. Saturday, the 28th of February. So just got the time in there, 2 p.m. What they're calling the Artist Floor Talk. at the Wangaratta Art Gallery. So if that's piqued your interest, that's the time to be on site.